everybody. My watch was a little slow. I was sitting there asleep on the job. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Well, welcome. My name is Ann Blair. I think you know that. I'm your resident council chair. This is the last meeting of the year. This is the December 13th resident meeting, which is the chapter 651. And I'm going to turn it over to Joey very shortly. There's a lot of stuff to cover, and I want him to have all the time he needs. I just want to mention newcomers, so we have those names in our minds. Since we last met, Wally and Donna Hallows in Villa 465, and Jim Tenafrancia. I'm not sure about that. Tenafrancia, maybe. Did I hear it correctly? Tenafrancia, we'll go with that, in A308. Those are our latest newcomers. And with that, I think we'll turn the meeting over to our Executive Director, Joey. Okay? Oh, Joey. Okay. Did I do this? I didn't do it, did I?
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so I have posted these slides on Touchdown for our friends who are watching from the comfort of home. I got a couple reminders to repeat the question if it's asked, or wait for the mic to get to you, so I'll try to do a little bit better on that, and hopefully it is bright enough that you can see it at home. So as Ann had stated, this is serves as our quarterly Chapter 651 meeting, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. As always, my focus, I kind of boil it down into the four large buckets of team member engagement, resident satisfaction, occupancy, and financial. So kind of structured the presentation similarly. I think I got some rave reviews for the shorter presentation last time, so I'm going to try and mimic that this time, but always welcome your questions as I move along. So jumping right into finances. This is for October, so this is kind of the odd cadence that we have. We're looking back a little bit further than we'd like. We're actually working on November's financial statements right now. October was positive by $14,000, which is always a good thing. We had the benefit of a couple of closings during the month, which buoyed us because we get that 5% processing fee off the entrance fees. For the year, in October, we ended behind the ball about $450,000. I anticipate November, I was hoping to close the gap a little bit more. I don't think we will, probably be about net even, maybe a little bit on the loss side, as we only had one closing in November. But then in December, we've got quite a few closings, so I anticipate we will swing fairly positive in the month of December. So we may not end the year in the black as a 12-month forecast, but nibbling away at it pretty significantly. It is off from budget, but I always like to remind the support center that last year's performance was a net loss of $2.5 million. So this is one, I call it a baby step, but it's a pretty big baby step, even just getting back to almost net even here. Going down into revenues a little bit, I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but I like to break it down by level of living for you. Assisted living, and skilled nursing, independent living, really assisted living and independent living. You saw that we didn't meet revenue projections there. In AL, we had some attrition throughout the month, so units coming vacant, units refilling, so overall census was down a little bit. Community-wide, still not quite there with our overall independent living occupancy projections. Home health continues to do really, really well and buoy us quite a bit. Memory care continues to be above budget, almost always full, or when there are vacancies, filling very quickly. And skilled nursing was positive, but really we're looking to maximize that and increase the amount of reimbursement we're getting from that area. So overall revenues were positive by $19,000, but that really is kind of buoyed by our home health revenue in that. From an expense perspective, really memory care was the only area below budget, and that's kind of the rest of the areas were above budget. mainly driven by labor. That's your biggest, that's 60% of your costs there. But we also have some hidden things in there, like our good old property insurance rates, which we know about $100,000 a month has been hitting us to the negative here ever since about May. So with all of that, we're about $109,000 over budget on expenses. So I'd still say from a net perspective, we did pretty well. And obviously having those two entry fees come and join us in October helped to see us in the overall positive there. Any questions about the finances there? Okay, we'll move into occupancy. So now this is current as of yesterday, because we had a closing yesterday. 78.6% in independent living, so 206 out of 262 units occupied. We have an additional 6 closings projected, so 212 is kind of the anticipated landing spot on that 12/31. So not, I think if you look last month, I was saying 81%, almost maybe 82. Attrition's starting to catch up with us a little bit. Obviously, once a resident passes, they don't immediately vacate. Typically, it takes time for a unit to close out, but as soon as someone passes, we put it into the forecast, so we calculate it as it is attrition upcoming. And we've got about 5 or 6 of those units potentially coming back to us. So even if it doesn't hit us in December, really in likelihood in January, we're going to see some more unit vacancies there just with some of our friends passing. So year to date, 28 closings in the books. Another one scheduled for today, and then 5 others throughout the rest of the month. Team is focused on closing strong. Realistically, you're not going to land a totally new person in the last 2 weeks of the year, but we do have that strong incentive program still running through the 31st, so trying to convince some folks who might be sitting on the fence. But we are starting to turn our attention towards the first quarter of 2024. We want to make sure that once we get into the new year, we start adding folks every single year. We've moved our incentive. Our commission and bonus program has changed so that instead of quarterly incentives, they're monthly incentives to get folks to close quickly and not load it all up into the last month of the quarter, and then you get this kind of boom and bust cycle. So we're trying to spread that out throughout the course of the year. We've got pretty much a full team. Got 1 position vacant, just added a new team member. Stephanie rolled out the Marketing Alliance. I think they had their first meeting last month, and their next one coming up here at the end of this month. So I'm interested to see how that engagement with the existing residents goes and what kind of ideas and discussions generated from that alliance. Got to toot our horn a little bit once in a while. U.S. News and World Report has their pretty lengthy process and all-encompassing many different industries, but one of the industries that they look at and rank are nursing homes in 2 different categories, long-term care and short-term rehabilitation. Quite a few life-space communities have been recognized in that. Village on the Green has been recognized for their short-term rehabilitation. Oftentimes, U.S. News is utilizing publicly available data, such as CMS's 5-star rankings, to go into it, but they have a few other proprietary elements that they look at when kind of establishing these awards. Certainly, of course, we got to pay for utilizing the badges and whatnot, but it certainly helps with our building referral networks, especially on the short-term rehab side, to say, look, 5 stars in CMS quality of care. We've got these sort of recognition. We've got Governor's Gold Seal. It's an ever increasingly competitive market for short-term rehab, so the more of these kind of accolades you can have and be able to share certainly helps with our ultimate goal, from that occupancy and financial performance perspective. So team member updates. Christina Naughton, she's our new independent living outreach coordinator. She started on Monday, and so she is with the team. She'll be on site for quite a bit, although eventually her role will be a lot of external outreach, everything from realtors, financial planners, healthcare providers, basically building up a professional network that helps us access more potential resident referrals. Xavier and Lenny continue on in their interim capacities and are doing a wonderful job, and so we're continuing to work with them in those roles. We are currently recruiting for a sales counselor. That's the last kind of remaining position in the sales team. But overall, fairly stable going into the holidays here. Long-awaited clubhouse map. So there was kind of a conversation back in June when we opened the doors to the clubhouse and the annex and all of that. Where is everything? So we've got a map now. It is available on Touchtown under administration. I put together a little folder called Wayfinding. So on that you'll find the clubhouse map, and then you're also going to find the community map. Shows all the buildings and things like that. We are putting it in order to have some nice hard copies made. Then once we have that, we'll have that at reception. So if you have guests coming or friends or whatever, you can show them, hey, this is where we're meeting and whatnot. So there are two different versions. There's the sales-friendly one, which doesn't give a whole lot of information. It's like, here's the dining room. Great, why did we make this? And then there's this one that I posted that's for us. It has offices, it has where restrooms are, it has where the resident spaces are. So hopefully it's actually useful to you in navigating the space here. AEDs. So when I first got here, there was a lot of conversation about AEDs and having them in independent living. We've had them in the Oaks for some time. It's a regulatory requirement to have them in the Oaks. That regulatory body does not regulate independent living. LifeSpace, as with many organizations, has been historically averse to providing AEDs in independent living settings, but as with any kind of leadership change, with Dr. Sarah Ham leaving and now Rick Oros kind of stepping into that role, there's been a little bit of a shift in positioning. So we will be adding 2 AEDs to our community. One is going to be in the fitness center and one will be in the dining room area here. Part of this shift has been brought on by a lot of the advancements in technology with AEDs. The units that LifeSpace has kind of bought and is also switching the health center units over to are much more user-friendly, so they don't necessarily require a lot of training in order to use them. There's visual steps, there's audio steps as to how to use it. This equipment also is much smarter. It can actually check for heart rhythms. It knows when to shock. It knows when not to shock. It will tell you if a shock is not necessary. We can monitor it proactively, so it can tell us, yes, I'm good, yes, I'm good, yes, I'm good. Oh, my battery's too low. We can go fix the battery so that it's always there. Typically, AEDs, you've got your maintenance guy checks it every day, and really all they're looking at is it on the wall? So these units are much more intelligent in being able to basically do self-diagnostics to say whether or not it's in peak condition to be able to use. So there will be team members on campus who will receive some training on this, on how to use these units. It does not change our process in terms of we're calling 911, but really this is that in between, from when an episode begins to when 911 can get here, to be able to offer this in between as a potential way to address anybody who's having a cardiac arrest. I think that about covers it on the AEDs. We're supposedly getting these shipped out this week. Then I imagine the company is coming out who's going to be doing the installation and the training and all of that with the team members. So realistically, I think these will be in place probably for the new year. And I'll let you know probably through the mail once they are up and out so that you can keep an eye on them if you need to. Any questions about that? My Choice, so this is the program that LifeSpace has branded it My Choice. This is basically shifting from the 1 meal a day credit system to a point system. We are scheduled to go live March 1st. There is a group ahead of us that will be going live February 1st. Our kind of official rollout begins really the first week of January with some training sessions for myself and for Sean. And then really the second week of January is when you'll start receiving letters about the program. We've had 3 communities go live with this back in the fall, and then the organization kind of paused with the rollouts as they kind of further fleshed out the points program, and then also turned our attention towards making sure we meet our sales goals for the year. But now with kind of the 2023 wrapping up, they're reactivating some of the projects they had put on pause. So realistically, from March 1st, if it's a go live, we're looking at kind of middle of January where my communications with you will start stepping up and really getting into the details. I'm sure you have many questions, as do I. I know a little bit about the program just from what I've picked up from talking to some of the executive directors that have gone through it, but I don't know that I know enough to be able to probably get into a real in-depth session with you about the questions. So don't want to surprise you with it in January, so this is kind of my heads up, it's coming, and then in January we're going to get into the meat of the program. Any just kind of high-level questions about that? Okay. Community Wi-Fi. So when Ann walked into my office today, she saw huge original plans of A through F buildings scattered across my desk as we're doing site surveys and planning for the project that is going to be bringing a community Wi-Fi network throughout our campus, both indoors and outdoors and in your units and in common areas. The company that we're working with is called Granite. They're the company who's going to be establishing this Wi-Fi network on campus. Right now we're in the process of providing them all the floor plans, all the building drawings, so that when they come out, they will send a technician who will kind of be informed by those plans to start assessing what our current Wi-Fi infrastructure is, and then what they need to build out, specifically where do devices need to go, where does cabling need to happen. They'll be essentially doing a reconnaissance, taking pictures and building a plan. Then we have to order all the equipment. That is fairly readily available, but still, that's something we have to put our order in order to get all that equipment. And then once that's here, we'll do installation. Installation will require a lot of cabling, both in buildings and outside. It will also require installation of access ports in your home. So there'll be there'll be times where a representative from Granite, accompanied by one of our team members, will be in your home to do that installation. And then once the installation is complete and they have activated the network, they're basically going to do what they call a heat map. So walk around and assess the strength of the Wi-Fi signal in the various spaces and basically create a map that shows where is it strong, where is it weak, where do we need to address it, maybe add some points, maybe change some programming. And then that way we know, all right, when they left and they said that this Wi-Fi network was good, here's what the heat map looked like. So then in the future, as you do construction or move things around and there's Wi-Fi issues, we can do another heat map and say, you know what, it used to be this strong, now it's this weak. What happened? What do we need to fix and whatnot? All of this is pretty fluid. They are moving fairly quickly. Village on the Green is in the next group to go live here in the first quarter of next year. I don't have a firm timeline just yet as to when they're going to be out, and they're somewhat non-committal in the sense of until we get them the information of our buildings and how good it is and how robust of a plan they can make. But I think once we get along that project a little bit, we'll be able to say, hey, we're looking at a March rollout or something like that. Obviously, when it comes to accessing your home, we will set that up in advance so that you're aware. Won't surprise you with that, but still a little short on details. But it's good to see that the Wi-Fi infrastructure is rolling out, because there's a lot, resident cable options and CarePredict, the PAL Care replacement are all kind of contingent on this Wi-Fi network getting up and running. Questions about that? Ann?
By the end of the first quarter of 2024?
We're scheduled to start in the first quarter. So as to when it'll be done, I'm not 100% sure yet.
Oh, I see,
Yep.
okay, start.
Mm-hmm. And right now, they're really, just last week, they started with the information request, so it's me pulling out old plans and whatnot. Yes, sir?
Will this replace the Spectrum $40 a month charge?
Question is, will this replace the Spectrum $40 a month charge? I don't know the answer to that just yet. I understand that the philosophy on Wi-Fi has changed a little bit. Internet access has changed a little bit with the organization, in that it is seen more as almost like a utility that's required versus an option that you could get. But how it impacts your charges and your monthly access fee, I don't know yet. Truthfully, do I see the organization giving up $40 a month? No. But I also understand that they're trying to make, we can hope, we can always, the organization has been very intent with both the cable and internet is like making sure that there is no cost impact in terms of an additional cost. So I think right now they're just trying to make it neutral, but I doubt they give up the $40. Yeah. But hopefully this gives you options too, because theoretically you could stay with Spectrum and say, you know what, I've had Spectrum forever, I love it, I don't want to mess with it, I'm keeping it. This is, from an internet access perspective, not necessarily mandatory that you access it and use it, but that it's there because so many people moving in now are saying we expect it. And also we plan on putting a bunch of stuff on it. The pendant replacement system, the resident cable entertainment option I think is going to utilize this. So we need it just as much as you do. So hope that answers your question. Mm-hmm. So projects underway, flurry of activity, the building A through F chairlifts. So this is like in each of the apartment buildings. They're in one stairwell as a chairlift. So basically, if the elevator goes down, it's the system meant to help residents get up and down that might have mobility issues. Those systems are failing and unreliable, so we're looking to replace them. We're in permit process with Seminole County right now. It's possible we never permitted the original chairlifts in the stairwells. We are permitting them now, doing it the right way. However, Seminole County has astutely pointed out that there is a minimum width that is required for stairwell for egress. And with these stair lifts, we encroach on that and it's not enough space. But they also understand what we're trying to accomplish and why we're trying to do this, so they are working with us. So we're just kind of going through that process right now, figuring out how we make all of this work and make sure the fire marshal's happy, that you're safe, but that you also have access to a reliable system. We found a good vendor who is here in Orlando, both manufacturing and service. So kind of one of the issues we had with the previous vendors, they had one guy in the state of Florida, and I think he had the audacity to retire, and now nobody does it. So that is something, we've got the funds all secured for. It's just a matter of kind of, as soon as we can get past the permitting, they're ready to go, and we can get that done. Annex window coverings, vendor's going to be out January 4th. I always say tentatively when they say it's that far ahead. But to do the install of blinds and roller shades in the various annex spaces. So I know a lot of our frequent flyers in the card room have trouble with the glare coming off the windows. We're going to have some shades there to be able to help make it a little bit more comfortable while you play in the card room. The automatic door openers for spaces throughout the clubhouse. We paid our deposit, the equipment's on order. I don't imagine it's going to be too long, but it really is as soon as that equipment's in, potentially the end of this month, we should start seeing the install happening. Annex wellness entrances, we have a vendor fabricating handrails for those exits, by the fitness center. Replace the kind of older ones on the one side by the dining room, and then add some by the ramp side that faces the parking lot there. And then we'll kind of fix up the landscaping at those two entrances as well once we get the handrails in place. Building a window replacement, we are in permitting with Seminole County. I think actually I have to go sign 30 permits right now after this. But that'll be our notice of commencement, so that's really going to get things moving. So I'm pretty close to reaching out to A-building residents to set up kind of a couple of informational meetings to start talking about that project. I don't have an update from the manufacturer on their timeline, but that we were originally target mid-January for those windows to start coming off the manufacturing line. So still moving ahead nicely with that project. 24 capital project, we've kind of gone through in more detail with the plant committee and with the finance committee, and I think resident council overall, but wanted to kind of throw a few of the notable items that are on the plan for next year. I always kind of throw caution to the wind on this plan. The majority of the projects that are on this list are contingent upon our bringing in new entrance fees, right? So our budget is typically set by how many move-ins do we think we're gonna have for the year, what refunds do we have to pay, and then that leftover can be utilized for capital projects. One of these projects is being paid for through financing, so it's not as contingent, and that's the window replacement program. But the rest of the projects typically, yes, we've gotten approval, but I gotta bring home the bacon in order for our CFO to start signing off on the checks. So he's typically the first quarter, you don't see a whole lot with capital projects. They see how many entrance fees you brought in, how many refunds have you paid out, and as long as you're in pretty good position with the forecast, they'll start giving us the code so we can start charging stuff to it. A through F window replacement is going to continue. The only kind of really A through D are budgeted for next year. E and F are the wild cards, but our hope is that because we've gotten such good pricing, they're gonna let us move it up to roll it into this year and use the 25 funds that we had earmarked to use it in 24 so that we can kind of keep it going. We also have to look at, once we start getting into the process, how long is it taking, and realistically we don't want to be changing your windows in the middle of hurricane season, so it might end up being January, February before we get to of 25 before we get to E and F anyways. So, but really the goal is get that project through in the next kind of 18 months. Also on the docket is the walkway repairs for A through F. So that's the chipping and cracking surfaces outside of your front doors and on the landings and whatnot, basically removing that coating and redoing that all the way throughout. We have almost $1 million for kitchen improvements here in the clubhouse. So it's basically touching everything except for the coolers, which we just did with the clubhouse renovation project. So this is new equipment, new exhaust systems, new fire suppression systems, new flooring. So it's gonna be a pretty big project. I don't anticipate we would start until probably the latter part of the year anyways. But this is one to kind of keep on your radar, because obviously anytime you take down a kitchen, it's gonna disrupt your dining program. So we will continue service throughout that time, but what it looks like is yet to be determined. We had a couple, I think a week and a half earlier this year, where we had to bring certain parts of the dining room down because of the dish pit repairs that we were doing, and so we ended up going to like a buffet style being cooked out of the health center. My guess is we probably do something like that again during this project, but that's something we'll bring finance and plant and culinary committees along with as we go through this process. But it's exciting, obviously a commitment in resources, but also we've talked a lot about the space challenges or the efficiency challenges we have for our culinary program. These really brings dollars to be able to fix those limitations, so we can have your Greek salad on the line and not take up all that space. Community sidewalk improvements. So this is to connect some of the sidewalks that end in the middle of nowhere, and then also some of the original golf cart sidewalks that are maybe 18 inches wide, or at least it feels that way, to replace those with wider walkways, provide pads for the benches to be secured to. If we don't have any crazy overages, introduce some low-level landscape lighting so that the paths are lit in the evening. So it's not to say that every sidewalk's going to get touched next year, but this is really the beginning of that. My guess is it's probably a 2-year process, 2 different phases to be able to address all of that. We also have some projects that have yet to be defined. The clubhouse patio improvements, so that's the space kind of outside the main dining room. There's right now Gilry and Sean have their Traeger smoker out there, and there's hodgepodge of furniture, but we really want to expand that concrete pad, potentially build a deck, add some patio lights, and turn that into a space that we can do some outdoor dining, we can host some outdoor events, but basically make it more of a communal area. I think it'll help us connect to the annex a little bit better. We have kind of envisioned a path to enclose some of the walkway out there so that we could provide another access point to the annex so that you don't have to walk through the back of house kitchen area, which I think Xavier and his team have done a really nice job of keeping it as clean as possible. But ideally there's another way for you to take yourselves and your guests and us to take marketing tours through. So don't have exact details on what all that looks like, but that's almost $400,000 in kind of project funds to be able to put towards creating a space there. Hardscape and drainage improvements. This is my way of sneaking in landscape into a capital budget. Yes, we do have some areas that still have drainage issues. There's areas that need to be, probably looked at a little differently to see, especially on Green Trail, where we've got kind of a big gully that's pretty much washing away. Fix those, but then also start doing some of the irrigation fixes that we need to, add some plants, start kind of place back the canopy and whatnot. Care Predict, this is the replacement for the pendants. So this is in our budget for next year. This is really a support center project. Outdoor shade structures, this is for health center, AL, memory care, independent living, basically large, kind of sometimes you see them at the municipal playgrounds, shade, that can cover a very large area, not just an umbrella. Typically they are over-engineered to be able to survive some even of our lower rated hurricanes, but they provide a wide space of shade. We've heard a lot that we've got a lot of nice outdoor spaces, but we can't really use them because of the intensity of the sun, so the idea is to kind of create a couple of these spaces. And then actually the biggest item on here, as it is usually every year, is the unit refurbishment. So this is when a unit comes back to us, redoing that unit, getting it ready for sale next year. So those are the really big things. It's not all encompassing. There's a lot of other stuff in there, equipment stuff for the team members, golf carts and stuff like that for them, but those are the big kind of resident facing items. Any questions about projects going on this year and then projects planned for next year? Yeah?
Pool heat?
Pool heat. I think, as far as I know, the pool heater is working. I think we're good on pool heater. I think Deb had said this weekend it was 82. And then the pool heat was, AmeriGas has replaced the tanks with those 4 upright tanks, connected it to our heater. So I think we're in good shape in terms of the work that needs to be done has been done. Now we just need AmeriGas to keep the tanks full, which is asking a lot apparently. But we should be good. Equipment's all running. Southern Touch was out this morning to make sure everything was looking good. So pool heat should be back on and running now.
What's your plan to disguise them?
Dino made an admirable effort to put some plants. I think we need some bigger ones, a little bit more mature. So we'll, probably it's a podocarpus hedge around, all 4 sides. But I think the ones that he planted are a little maybe too small, take too long. So
You wouldn't do a fence.
not a fence, no. It's not.
It can't be enclosed, can it?
It's difficult to enclose, but you can plant, those podocarpus or a viburnum hedge around it, something like that, to try and obscure that. Yes, ma'am.
You had talked before about having keys for us to get into our room that were.
Yes, good question. So keys, that's the Salto Lock program. That's also in next year's capital budget to do that. I don't know how far we're going to get with that. I mean, it's been $250,000 a year for quite a few years, but I don't think we've actually done, if any, of those switchovers yet. So I think we're starting from scratch. I don't know how much 250,000 covers on door locks, but that is in the plan for next year to be able to do that. And the focus would be resident homes, so that instead of having to fumble with the key lock, you just have the RFID tag, tap it and open it, and that also allows us to more tightly control who has access to your apartment. You can assign a specific team member whether they have it or not, versus a master key, which at this point that master key is not so masterful anymore. So, but good question, thank you. Other questions about projects? It has been a year. Holy moly, how time flies. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. It's been an amazing years, ups, downs, but way more ups than downs. I wake up energized to come to Village on the Green to serve you. I look forward to an amazing 2024. We will stay focused on our goals, you, our team members, our occupancy, and ultimately the financial performance of this organization. Really grateful to all the residents for embracing me and communicating with me, and nudging me when maybe I stepped astray. I appreciate that. My thanks to the Residents Council. Specifically, I want to call out Anne for being the chair of the council and really embracing me and working with me and helping me to understand the community and its residents. I guess I have to say thank you to Steve, but I won't dwell on it too much. Thank you, Steve. Want to thank the committee chairs, Al, steady hand at finance. Frankly, I think I'm the dumbest person in the room in the finance committee meeting, but they don't make me feel that way, so thank you, Al. Steve for plan, thank you, we've got a lot done this year. Arlene as well, hopefully watching from home on culinary. Dr. Altman on the healthcare committee, thank you so much, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some folks, but just want to say thank you for embracing us. You'll be getting a card. That's our New Year picture. So you'll get a card from the Mukherjee family, but we're very thankful for all of you and embracing us. So here's to 2024, and our next meeting will be January 10th, right here, and then open it up for questions. Yes.
We would just like to thank you also.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. And this might be a record for meeting length. Oh no, Anne's got some stuff. But even Anne said, I'm struggling for material. I said, that's okay. We'll let him out early. All right.
That's fine.
Thank you, Joey. I'll go back to our minutes from last month. I do want to mention the remembrances. Barbara Lowing, Scott Long, Ellen Lawler, whose services were just yesterday, the celebration of life right here. There was a beautiful, beautiful service. And Jeffrey Baird, who passed away on December 5th. He's our most recent. I do want to say that we've got, since I've got the time, I'll go through this, a lot of activities for December, of course. We have the December birthday party, which is tonight for all those who have birthdays in December, and that's a crowd of people. That's a lot of people in December. The Christmas dinner dance is on the 20th. The Christmas Eve Sunday brunch on the 24th. And then you've got the buffet on Christmas Day from 2 to 4. And then the New Year's Eve on 12/31, there's a noontime lunch, a dinner in the Palm Court, and then there's also the casino night. And I believe the dinner you have to sign up for. I don't think you have to sign up for the casino night, but lots of activity all through December, bringing us into the new year. So make sure you put your name down on whatever you want to go to. Lots of stuff. We do have one bit of business. Per our standing rules and bylaws, but particularly the bylaws, on the 1st of December, we sent out a door hanger to everybody with specifics of what was changed in the bylaws. However, the bylaws need to be approved by the community. And so since I have you here today, by a show of hands, would you please tell me that you approve the bylaws? That looks like a majority to me. Okay, thank you very much. That business is taken care of. Now with our committees, at the last meeting, many of the committees have submitted their year-end reports. Some still have that to do, and that will be ongoing. They'll be in the books in the library, and those that were submitted were attached to the minutes that went out the other day, so they are a matter of record so far, what we have. And then I've got two final things. One is my goodbye letter to you. This is to everybody, all residents of Village on the Green. As this is my final resident meeting, I would like to say a few words of farewell. First, my heartfelt thanks to all of you who've supported me through the years, and to those willing to chair committees on the council, all of you, and lend your hand at enhancing our lives here at Village on the Green. As your voice to our management, it's been an experience for me to learn the leadership styles of several executive directors and interims during my 4-year tenure. I'm particularly appreciative of having this past year to learn from Joey Mukherjee. Thank you, Joey. My time as your chair has taken place between the terms of 2 significant resident leaders at Village on the Green, both of whom I consider my mentors. Where is Steve? There you are. Steve Gus, my predecessor as council chair, shared with me how he approached his job, and he shared his knowledge of such areas as our Employee Appreciation Fund, the importance of interfacing with the Home Office Association, the Sable Point Community Services Association, and his in-depth knowledge of the operational and capital budget aspects of Village on the Green. I thank you, Steve. Basil Flum, who is to follow me, was my mentor prior to Steve. As my next-door neighbor, Basil shared with me the importance of giving back to one's community, and particularly so very much about the culture of Village on the Green. As his secretary for years on the Finance Committee, he shared as much as I could handle about the finances of LifeSpace. And as administrator for Brady Wilkins Scholarship Program, we shared trials and tribulations in the program's continued development at Village on the Green. I thank you, Basil. I'm hitting that, aren't I? Once again, to all Village on the Green residents, it's been an honor to serve as your council chair. It's been a pleasure, and I thank you all. Now I turn my gavel over to Basil Flum. I've always admired Basil's visionary qualities. He sees opportunities at every turn and works tirelessly to develop them toward the greater good. We are inexperienced, capable hands, and we look forward to your leadership as our 2024 resident council chair at Village on the Green. Basil. Would you like to say anything?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Stay here, Annie.
Oh, stay here.
A lot of noise. Well, and it seems like yesterday you moved into, can you all hear me? Seems like yesterday you moved in as my roommate.
Yes, thank you.
And we've been roommates and friends ever since. In those days, your tasks in life were quite different, but you were dedicated, and I always really admired the way you took care of Bob in his later days. The gavel you just gave me is a heavy one. And really it's heavy because of it carries, the weight of the contributions that you and your predecessors gave to this community back for 35 years, most recently with Steve. But anyhow, everybody's got a piece of this action. It's safe to say that no council was chaired during a pandemic, however. That was unique to you. And also the expansion, the only capacity changes in Village on the Green took place in the last 4 years. The Oaks and the new villas that are on Greentail. The present resident council and association members want to acknowledge that, and with a remembrance of this extraordinary time in history when you've chaired this council. So Ann, we have a gift for you. If I can put this down without.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Oh, what a surprise.
So this is your gift. And we ask you to accept this gift as a daily reminder a daily reminder of how much the citizens of Village on the Green, both residents and staff, cherish your loving leadership on our behalf. The inscription that you'll read to these folks as you show it to them, I hope, it says, "Insightful leadership through pandemic and expansion, BOTG Council 2020 to 2023. Congratulations, Ann, for your exceptional leadership."
My golly, thank you. This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that, thank you so much. And you put an E on Ann and everything. Sometimes I don't get it.
Thank you again.
That was certainly a surprise. I want that one more time. I want that one more time. The second thing that I had to do, I want to express an invitation to Joey and everybody to come to the hostess desk where we have a cake in Joey's honor, celebrating not only his year, but his, almost birthday, I believe, right? So please, we're done. We're finished. Thank you.